Being 5:17, I call the Tuesday, July 22nd Economic Development Committee meeting to order. Thank you for coming, everyone, and I apologize for the technical delay. Could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call has been taken.
Yep.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion has been made by Bill, seconded by Tim. Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda carries. I would entertain a motion to approve the June 24th, 2025 meeting minutes as presented in the packet.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Dave, seconded by Tim. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes carry. Okay, for public comment, we would like anybody who would like to make a public comment at this time that is outside of the Avangrid to come forward to the mic up here and state your name and where you're from. Is there any public comment?
Can we speak during Avangrid?
Yes.
Nope, but this is not a public hearing, so if you have any public comment about what's on the agenda, now is the time to speak.
That's what I thought.
In the meeting,
Okay.
that is where the discussion of the board and the committee to happen, so
That's what I thought.
I had thought we were going to let them talk during the discussion.
typically you don't, but
Okay, that's all right. Go ahead, come on up and have public comment then. State where you're from and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
You can hear me. Lynette Gitter, I'm from the
well,
town of
actually, if you get on the mic so we can get it on the camera.
Yeah,
Oh,
camera and recording.
okay, hi. Lynette Gitter, town of Maple Creek, I'm the clerk there. I just wanted you to know that I'm the one that made the copies for you guys, the visual of the solar farm proposed in Maple Creek, the green area, proposed areas. I just wanted to highlight that for you, so you had a visual when you were in your discussion. I think there's a little mark on one of them. Anyway, that's where I live. It's not something that the town of Maple Creek is looking for, as you can probably, as you have heard, and taking all this farmland out of production for a solar farm. And we think there's other areas that would probably be more suitable for that kind of thing. And selling this property just enhances the chances of it happening. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Susan Griffin, I am the town chair for Maple Creek. Back in 23, we had a public meeting for all of our town residents. Avangard came to discuss what they wanted to do, and 99.9% of the people that were there did not want this solar field to go in, or whatever it's called. There's between 15 to 1,700 acres of prime farmland that's going to be ruined, essentially. We would love to keep Maple Creek rural farmland. People move to our community to get away from all of the so-called technical advances. They want to be able to walk out their door and not hear humming. They don't, want to have subdivisions so that, you walk out your door and, oh, there's your neighbor. We really would love for you to not sell this land to them to help protect our community. Thank you.
And Belinda, I apologize. I meant to say that the general public would be now. The town chairman and the boards, you guys would be part of the meeting. So again,
Oh, okay.
ones that are not on the town board, now is your opportunity to come up.
Any further public comment?
Hi, my name is Scott Cartwright. I'm from Maple Creek. I just wanted to, last meeting I talked, I guess one of the things I think you guys don't know about is the land, you know, it's not eminent domain that they're taking that land away from the farmers to be, it's being leased. But it's only like one or two that have the bulk of the land. It ain't like it's 20, 30 guys that are going for this. It's one or two and the rest are getting pulled along, so. It's not a unanimous thing. I just wanted you to know that it wasn't, you know, a bunch of small farmers got together and said, hey, this is the way to go. It's one or two bigger ones. Everybody else just kind of has to fall in line or get left behind. They kind of divide and conquer. So I guess I just wanted to point that out. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi, I'm Gary Coronas from the town of Maple Creek also, just like pretty much everybody you see behind you. I just really want to say that taking all that land out of the farmland is just gonna be a terrible waste of that property. There's a lot of better places. We have a small solar farm of 30 acres going on some really poor farmland, that kind of thing. I don't see a problem with that at all. This is just prime flat farmland that they're gonna try and take away from Maple Creek, and everybody has a hard enough time, you know, trying to get their crops in and feed the dairy cows and everything as it is now. So I really hope that you guys decide not to sell them this and make it a little tougher for them to put this solar farm in.
Any further public comment? Last call for public comment. Thank you for those who spoke. Okay, moving on to the discussion regarding selling of the land in the Northeast New London Business Center to Avangrid, an energy production company, for a substation and maintenance facility. And just to clarify, we are going to let the board members and for Maple Creek be part of this discussion. And Derek as well. Is he on?
Yes, Derek is
Okay.
on. So this was the intent when John Hass mentioned last week or last month to bring the town boards. This was the opportunity to bring the town board in for discussion with the group. And then also Derek, which everybody knows from Avangrid, is also with us virtually to also provide information. So wherever you guys want to go with it from here, this was your opportunity to have that discussion. So if you want to invite people up, go right ahead. If anybody from the town board does come up to the circle if we can, just so we can get them on your voice on mic.
I'm Adam Yankee. I'm a supervisor for the township of Maple Creek. A lot of our residents, majority, say 99% of them are against this solar farm going in. Myself, I grew up out there. That's home. I do not want to see home ruined by a big solar farm going in. Everyone out there enjoys seeing nature, seeing farmland, not a big solar farm. Us on the board, we feel strongly against this. We know there's some money involved for our township, but at this point, for our residents, the money don't matter. We want to keep our residents happy. We want to keep our residents in our township, not push them out of our township. Along with bringing new residents in, we feel that
Tom Stracy, supervisor from Maple Creek as well. I don't have a whole lot else to add. I think Adam summed it up pretty well. I've been in Maple Creek for about 5 years now. This won't be around my house, but I agree with everything that, we've all had to say about it the whole time. It's wouldn't be beneficial to us.
I'd just like to add to that, as Adam was saying, there are homes surrounded by these solar panels. So every window that someone looks out, that's all they will see. They won't see the deer running through the field anymore. They won't see the turkeys. They might not even see the geese if they have any lowland. It's disheartening to know that this land could be ruined. And you put yourself in their shoes. Would you want your house completely surrounded by solar panels? I'm not against, I can't think of the word, improvement, technology, not against that, but why couldn't they put it, at the Appleton Airport or the Green Bay Airport or over anywhere else that is already used where they could continue to use it, where now once these solar panels come off of this land, if they come off the land could be contaminated. No crops could be produced. Or if they are produced and you're eating them and now you have cancer or MS or, any other disease that is potentially terminal. Is that what we want for our future kids? I got a grandbaby that I don't want that for her. I don't want to know that while this had solar panels on it, could grow a crop, but it might potentially harm you. And for Avangard to want to buy the land from you, and now we're just pleading to have you not sell it to them, because it's kind of a detriment to our little township. We're rural. We don't have industry. We may have a couple small businesses, but 90% of our township is rural, and we really like it that way. So just a plead to keep our little township the way it is, and but essentially it is up to you, I guess. So that's all I have.
I got one thing. The other thing, if this does go through, they do put those like stations in. Another concern I have is, will they put a batteries, on this land, or, purchase another parcel and have a battery farm? What kind of hazards does that have with like the fire department? Having that much power stored, energy, and so on, things like that, in our area. And what kind of hazards will that bring to the residents that are on the outskirts of the industrial park, let alone the people that are working every day in the industrial park, if something were to happen?
Cause if that blows, there ain't no stopping it.
Unfortunately, we don't have a choice in the matter, so we have no control over whether this was it or not. So you guys would be a determining factor on this. We can't control it since it's above the size it's above the size that it needs to be for the town to not have any control.
John?
Can I speak? Ask a question. That's why it's so great. We really appreciate you guys coming here. It's the one thing I think at the last meeting, at least I can apply, that there's a lot of inferences here, but we all were questioning how could it even get this far? That's why we wanted to have this discussion with you. I mean, does the town have land use planning or permit process, or how does it hinge pin on, I gotta make a decision to make maybe not the best decision for 7,200 residents in New London because of, I don't know, 300, is there even 300 houses in there? Or I guess,
Yeah,
how did it get this far? Did they just backdoor you guys, or?
oh, yes,
Yep.
yes.
How did they
it's-
backdoor you? Can you explain that?
It's,
Can you explain how they backdoored your community, please?
the wattage is above what we have control over. It's, I don't remember the exact wattage, but over,
1,200 acres.
well, no,
It's
the wattage.
150 megawatts.
Controlled
Yeah.
by the public service.
Yeah,
So basically the back door is big enough to make it
Yes.
out of your.
yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Because one person owns enough land to
To-
be able
to
to.
be able- Yeah,
I ain't gonna lie, I don't like it. I don't like
Thank you.
any of this at all.
Like we
But I
just
do
had that
want- I'm very glad.
a few months ago. We did have a smaller one come to us, which we have some say in it, but there again too, we can't shut it down. But we can, along with this one as well, have setbacks and so on within reason. Well, and we approved the last one, because it is in some land that isn't very good farmland, and it's off in some hills where hardly anybody's gonna see it. It's not next to homes. I mean, this is a couple 100-acre fields, 50, 40s, all put together, and it's just gonna be solid.
Right, but there's no, I guess the word I'm thinking of is zoning, like, it's either zoned agriculture and I
So-
don't know if solar farming.
From my understanding, they have changed because it's zone exclusive ag. And from my understanding, they have allowed solar farms in the ag sector so they're allowing the solar farms to go on agricultural land.
because they call it a farm.
Right.
And Johnny, towns are different, being unincorporated, the default to the county
Mm-hmm.
for quite a bit of these things, being unincorporated, so.
So did you kind of take your concerns to the county at all?
Oh, yeah. And they said there's nothing we can do. Yep.
Yep.
It's over the wattage. All you guys can do is make your setbacks.
So there's some legal documentation out there that. the
Yeah.
county has said.
Yep.
So one other quick question. So
Keep asking them, John, you're doing a good job.
like, if we deny, we don't want to sell it to them because actually we've got a lot of opportunities, what's to prevent them from just buying the field across the street? That's in your township and it's gonna go through,
Well, and that's what we're up against is we're trying, hoping and praying that all the residents stay strong and stay together. But unfortunately, as the years go by here, they just keep putting more money onto it, luring them in. And that's why it's been such a long process already, because it's taken them this long now to get up to you guys. Because they've been trying to find a way to get from there to that substation. So that's our hard part, is we don't have, there's nothing we can do legally to control what our residents do with their land.
Cause some of them have already sold land to, not the company we're talking about, but other
Right.
companies. you know?
Right.
So I mean, I don't know, I sit and look at it as, you know, our obligations are to God and family and state and then city, and then we need to be a good neighbor to you guys, but you're talking to a bunch of people that are responsible for 7,200 residents in the city of London.
Right.
And we're not even to the point where they're not, we wouldn't know what, I don't know what your tax implication would be to the town of Maple Creek or to the county, but, and I have no idea what the tax implications would be, or it's called pilot payment in lieu of taxes. If a company like this wanted to do what they want to do and we would sell them the land, I have no idea what it would mean to the residents of New London. Is it 50,000 a year, 100,000 a year? So we got to make the case eventually after this is all talked through, and a lot of unsubstantiated facts, you know, being thrown out, and there's a lot of stuff out there and a lot of fear and anxiety because solar is relatively new, and you know, I hate to see the loss of good prime agriculture land more than anybody.
Then that,
But I
The
also
parcels
know that
is
it's
probably
incorrect
the
to
best.
mislead people to say that. I also know it's incorrect to mislead people to say that solar panels are gonna pollute the Wolf River.
right,
That's the stretch, you know.
right,
You got 1,200 acres, non-point pollution, manure, phosphates, fertilizer, nitrates, something, we gotta build an $80 million treatment plant to make sure our water that we treat from a lot of surrounding townships too is not polluted. And you know what I mean? I don't want a bunch of unsubstantiated facts out there. I want hard facts, because I gotta make my case to 7,200 people in the city of New London. So I feel for you guys, but I want you to understand that this is a big ask. And there's a lot more meetings probably gonna happen. But I just can't believe that at the town level, you couldn't have somehow got a public intervener or
It's
something.
the wattage. We have no control over that. And there's a state statute that under a certain 150 megawatts, we have some control over, but above that, we don't get a say. So, and also, if they put this solar farm in, now, well, they have to bring in all the heavy equipment. And they say they're gonna fix our roads once they bring in this heavy equipment, but are they really? You know, so now I gotta try to find money to fix roads. Which most of us know, it's hard to scrape that money up sometimes.
We're gonna drive on our roads to 1.3 miles away.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, those are all concerns that I think that need to be thought and discussed, talked about with the companies involved and everybody. Everybody's gonna throw out the rose colored, you know, viewpoint, and now in today's day, you can do all kinds of research online, but you don't know exactly if it's substantiated data or not. And so we're still at a point where we're glad you guys came, and we kind of know, we can see a little bit more how maybe your hands are tied, but maybe there's other options out there. I'm not a legal counsel advisor for the town, but you may want to look at, you know, maybe you can consult the farmer, maybe there's permit fees or something that you can do. But we know what you're asking and we know why you're asking it, at least I feel, but that, I've said my piece, but I think we need to continue finding facts. Because we need to make decisions for your constituents. We want to be good neighbors to all of you, but we also got to make decisions based on facts and our.
Just one more thing to add to that. I know you're talking about obviously your constituents, which I can understand as well, and you know, the money that it would bring in for you guys. We also would be are willing to turn down it's a significant amount that we would be per year that we get from that we are willing to not take by if we can get this not go through. I don't know what the exact number was, but it's an estimate based on the amount, based on the output. But it's in the hundreds of, it's in the well into six figures per year that we are willing to
Forego.
for this. Just to say it's not, so it's not just you guys that be, that are, that wouldn't be bringing in the money from that as well. But to us it's not worth it.
And I think I was the one that requested to have you guys here because if we never see you guys and hear your opinions.
Yep.
Like I told some of them back there, I said, they can say anything to us and, well, she said this, he said that. Well, how do we really know that unless?
Right,
Right.
thank you.
Yep,
tell us?
thanks for
Yeah,
everybody,
you.
we really appreciate it.
And we have some of the concerns you also have, like the battery storage you brought up.
Yeah.
Derek guaranteed us that is totally off the table, and that would be part of the, well, he's right here, we can,
Yeah.
we can also bring him up at any time, but that was one of our huge concerns because
And
all of us love that river system.
And it could be off the table for that company, but another company that does batteries could also then at some point try,
We could also make that amendment in our sale of the property as well.
Yeah, so we do have them concerned, and I agree with Johnny, like. We had 2 public hearings for our constituents to come and voice your opinion. Did we have 1, Chad? Show up? Yep, I think we have had 1 of 7,200 people come to us and actually question this, and that was it.
And nobody here. At one public hearing or the informational session, we had 1 show up from the city of New London.
Yep.
That was in favor of it.
Mhm.
several of us showed up at that
Yep.
as well.
We had one letter, I think, or at least I had one letter sent to me that somebody from town saying we need to look into that sale and in favor of selling it.
I also received that letter too.
But, I can definitely see your side of it, like willing to forego that amount of money for your tax base. That's huge. And then it's, maybe wait till technology's better or whatever, till you get more information. I mean, it's not taking it all off the table. Not like they got the infrastructure built yet, so that's why we're having these discussions.
Well, and I just wanted to point out that for our purposes, for the city of New London, we're looking at the substation and maintenance facility. They did come to us about putting a battery storage area in there. And like John said, we were against that, and that has been pulled back, and we could put that into an agreement. At the time, we don't have an agreement of any kind to bring before this committee to refer to council as a yay or a nay. Well, it would have to be a yay to refer it to council. So we don't even have, we are truly in discussion phases and looking at getting, like John said, getting the truth, the facts, the actual information as to what this means. And yeah, we do have an obligation to our constituents who elected us into these positions. But I also believe that we have an obligation to be a good neighbor. And I don't think that I could be speaking out of turn, but I don't think there's anybody on this council that would want to see any kind of negative environmental impact to New London or Maple Creek or anywhere surrounding us or in the state, anywhere at all. So as discussions progress, thank you for bringing up your concerns, because those will be questions that are asked. And I know that Derek had asked as well to address some things that he had heard in the last meeting that he wanted to bring forward, and it might be opportunity for you guys to have discussions with them again about those concerns. So with Derek, you there?
Hey, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yep, we're good.
Okay. Yeah, first and foremost, I want to, appreciate the stage to be able to speak about the project. I'm Derek Buss. I'm the lead developer from Avangrid. I had a chance to meet with a lot of you over the years. We had the open house in, I think, the first week of June. Had a chance to talk one-on-one with about 15 or 20 people who showed up and were present for that. And then we had the following meeting with the city about a week after that. And I think that this month's meeting, is a chance to listen to, both the town and the city together. So I've been taking some notes about some of the questions or things that have come up. So I'd like to provide a little bit of information, a clarity, hopefully, if possible, on some of the things that were said. I think one of the things that's been talked about is the use of farmland. I think it's important to note that our lease agreement requires us to restore the property back to its existing use. A lot of times I try to equate the view of a solar farm to a CRP property or similar, but with steel pilings in the ground and with panels on top. So as was stated, we're looking at about 1,200 acres of land where the panels would sit. Underneath the panels, we plant a native seed mix that incorporates multiple species. You can, sometimes considered as a pollinator species, but native species. The purpose of that landscaping plan or that vegetation underneath the panels there's multiple reasons for it. Some of the reasons are we want to choke out any weed growth in the area. So we don't want to use pesticides or herbicides on the property. And similar to a CRP property, that's grass and other species that grow to about 2 feet tall, and it falls over onto itself under its own weight. Again, the maintenance on that is fairly easy, mowing 1 to 2 times per year. So it's a benefit to the project because that's low operations costs. It's a benefit to the environment because the soil is not being used. It really just all the nutrients stay in the soil. It reduces the runoff because the land is not being tilled over a year in and year out. So the runoff into the rivers is likely to be reduced because the land is not being tilled. And again, there's multiple requirements to restore that property back. The installation of the panels, again, like I mentioned, is we go out and plant a landscaping plan or put in about 1,200 acres of grass and native species, and then we'd come in and install the panels, which is using a pile driver and installing steel panels, or excuse me, steel pilings that the panels would sit on top of. That's a fairly easy installation and fairly simple decommissioning process that would include the removal of the panels and then pulling out the steel from the ground after the project has met its useful life. Some of the other things that were mentioned, I know there's, I think everybody understands that initially we had been pursuing a battery storage project that would be sort of supplementary to the solar project. As I've noted, we have pulled back on our battery storage application with the utility. It's not something that you can, just apply for and be able to build quickly. The process through the utility takes multiple years. we're sitting here, we applied for this project 4 years ago in July of 2021. So we've been through the process with the utility for 4 years and we still don't have approval from the utility to be able to put this project here. We're pursuing is an interconnection agreement that allows us to put electrons onto the grid. And in order to do that, the utility, needs to look to see how this impacts the grid, not only in Wisconsin, but across several other Midwestern states, which I think was mentioned. So in order to put a battery storage project, you would need to go through that multi-year process again. So as was stated, we have pulled our application on that battery storage, and we would be willing to, obviously, if the city was interested in moving forward, we would have a requirement that did not, or a restriction on the battery storage for our project. So I want to make sure that's clear. I think another thing that was mentioned was that the energy that would be produced at this site would, go elsewhere. I'm not an electrical engineer, but I like to quote my boss, the director, who is an engineer. And when electrons are put onto the grid, they try to find ground as fast as possible. So whether that is in Outagamie County, in Appleton, I can't imagine the electrons, going a super far distance outside of where they're produced here would be produced here. Some other things that were mentioned, or just a little bit of clarity, as was mentioned, Maple Creek would receive quite a bit of in terms of an annual tax that would be paid from the project. And this is a statewide calculation and a law that we would have to follow, which would be $4,500 per megawatt that would need to be paid in annual taxes that would be split between the county and the town. So 150 megawatt project at $4,500 per megawatt is $675,000 annually that the project would have to pay. 58% of that does go to Outagamie County, but the remaining amount, which is about $283,000 annually, would go to the town of Maple Creek. So I know that heard the comments, but I do want to, at least highlight that there is a financial benefit to the town for having the project, and there's a benefit to the county as well. And we've talked about some of the benefits to the city of New London. Some information that I've passed on, which would be an equation of 6 mils or 0.6% of the estimated value of the substation that we would build within the city of New London, and the operations and maintenance facility. That would be a payment that would go to the city for those taxes. And I've given Chad some information on that. What that boils down to, again, is 0.6% of the estimated value of the substation, which we're estimating right now to be approximately $15 to $20 million to build. So that would be the value of the infrastructure, the operations and maintenance, and the substation, which equates to $90,000 to $120,000 in the first year that would benefit the city of New London. That does depreciate over time, so it gradually, wanes off, but that is the same calculation that the city is now receiving tax benefits for the ATC substations that are within the city. So we'd be following that same calculation, again, starting at about $90,000 to $120,000 for the first year.
Derek, did I hear you
yeah.
correctly? Sorry, don't mean to interrupt, but I kind of do.
Yeah.
Did I hear you correctly when you said that you've applied with public services with the state and have not yet received approval?
No, sorry. We've applied to MISO, which is the make sure I've got the acronym right here, the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator. So that's MISO, MISO. MISO operates the transmission corridor in the central part of the United States. As was mentioned, they oversee the transmission from Canada all the way down to Louisiana. It includes all of Wisconsin, much of Illinois, Indiana, all of Iowa, pretty much follows the Mississippi. Most states that are touching the Mississippi are part of this transmission operator. And the goal of the transmission operator is to ensure reliability across the grid. So that's where it is possible for an electron that is generated in Wisconsin could make its way outside of the state and be used outside of the state. Within the state, then you've got your utilities that the larger utilities, and then smaller utilities like the city-owned utility. So one thing, like you mentioned, we have not started the PSC process. So some of the things that were stated is, because of the size of the project being 150 megawatts, in the state of Wisconsin, you would not go through a local zoning approval process. You would go through the state approval process, and that is through the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin. And so we would be doing, and we haven't started this process. This process takes about 12 to 18 months to gain approval through the PSC. And it is a pretty rigorous and robust process that the state has. Through the PSC, we would be applying for a certificate of public convenience and necessity, or a CPCN. And given that the project is over 100 megawatts, being 150 megawatts, we would go through this process versus going through approvals from, say, Outagamie County or the town of Maple Creek. So through the CPNC, as I mentioned, it takes over a year. It's estimated to take over a year for approval. There's basically 7 steps in that process. And I'd like to highlight those just quickly. The first step would be public information meetings and organized by the applicant. So we would have to have additional public information meetings. The meetings that we're having right now would not be, we may reference that in an application to say we've had meetings in the past, but those would not qualify as the meetings that are required here. So these are public information meetings. You can imagine this would be input from the residents in Maple Creek, and maybe other interested in people that within the county or in the nearby region. The second step would be to submit an application. The application is, as I mentioned, very robust. It includes environmental information. It includes maps and engineering and information about the panels that we would be using, information about Avangrid and things like that. We would then go through a public notification process. So this would be to notify the local governments of the application. Next, we would go through PSC scoping meetings, which seem to me to be internal meetings with its state agencies. So that the PSC would then communicate with the Department of Natural Resources and other agencies who we've worked on our application with. We would then go through an environmental review of the project. The environmental review would require us to prepare an environmental assessment and an environmental impact statement. I know that some of the concerns about the project is that, this is newer technology. Our company has owned and operated several projects like this across the US for probably coming up on a decade, on multiple projects. I know that, the introduction of solar as an affordable energy generation is relatively new, probably within the last decade or 15 years. The cost of solar generation has come down substantially. A lot of that is due to increased size of projects like the one that we're pursuing. These are utility scale projects. These are meant to make a pretty large dent in the demand of electricity across a state. I know Wisconsin is not unique in that it is primarily, I believe, coal and natural gas generation right now. So there are a number of coal plants across the state that are planning on retiring because they are, say, built in the 1970s and are not meeting the environmental standards. The increased scrutiny on environmental standards being, say, clean water and clean air challenges that they may face in meeting those. And then just the fact, again, that they're 50 to 60 years old, there are plans to retire them. So in order to retire generation facilities, something needs to fill that gap. And renewable energy, and specifically like we're talking about with this Howling Wolf Solar Project, the purpose of that, again, is to fill the void of a retired coal plant or other plant. So again, just going back to the requirements, the environmental review is a big part of that. Finally, there's 2 additional stages in the PSC approval process. This would include hearings. I can imagine, having not been through this process, but this would imagine us to be in front of the PSC, the Public Service Commission, and provide testimony and provide comment. And this also allows for comment from members of the public. So, the meeting that's being taking place tonight is not the last opportunity for people to, address these concerns. Even if the city was to approve to sell land for the substation and operations and maintenance facility, this would not be the last chance for people to, have their voices heard. The PSC allows for that as well. And then finally, the last stage would be a decision from the Public Service Commission. They basically weigh they heavily scrutinize the application, make sure that we, as I said, are addressing different environmental concerns and engineering concerns to see that this plant would operate safely. And then they make a determination to see just as the name states of the process, they want to see if this is a public convenience and a necessity. Does this provide energy that is needed across the state of Wisconsin? And if we have approval, then we would have the appropriate permit that would be required. So again, if the project were smaller than 100 megawatts, we would probably be going through Outagamie County to obtain a special use permit, and possibly working with the town if in that case to obtain any permits. But the fact that we have a larger project, it still incorporates the ability for the community and the public to comment, but the approval process is at the state level. So I hope that was helpful. I'm happy to answer any questions. I wanted just to hit on some of the major comments that I was taking notes on. But again, I appreciate being able to speak with everybody and having multiple jurisdictions in one room to talk about the project.
Thank you, Derek.
Derek, would you like to comment on, Ms. Griffin said her concern was the possibility of contamination of that soil under the solar panels, or I guess what's your view on that aspect of answering that question? I mean, is there possibility of that, or is that far-fetched since there are no battery storage?
So we're not looking at battery storage. So, but the panels themselves, we use high quality tier 1 panels that have, these are, premier in terms of their ability to generate energy, and they meet, certain requirements that mean they are environmentally safe to operate. I mentioned some of the requirements that the state would have us, they would require us to be using panels that meet certain requirements. I think that I would say that there's not a whole lot of information to support the concern of solar farms being of detriment to water or to nearby soils.
Okay, thanks.
what type of fencing is going around this?
Yeah, so we call it a wildlife fencing. It would be about a 6 to 8 foot tall fence that would completely enclose the solar array. It's similar to a chain link fence, but we would be looking at using wooden posts, possibly steel posts, but wooden posts are more likely. And then the grid system of the fence is a little bit is bigger than that of a chain link fence. It's, you can think of it as like 4 to 6 inch openings to allow for animals to come in and out of or go through the array. I would also like to point out, some of the things, just the nature of the project would be that they would be setback from the public right of way, setback from homes, and setback from non-participating properties, whether those be a farm or a property, 5-acre property with a residence on it. Those setback areas can be farmed and would be farmed. If they were too small, or machinery wouldn't, or farming equipment wouldn't be able to access or get into those areas, then we would have that vegetation plan that I mentioned. So it would be covered in a native grass mixture. So, if there's a setback from the public right of way, or from somebody's road, you can, from somebody's home rather, you can imagine that stretch, those strips of land would be planted with corn or soybeans, just like they are right now.
So going back to the fencing, we have a lot of deer hunters in that area. If they're 6 to 8 feet tall, how do you get a deer in there to eat the vegetation? They'll have to find, if they can't get through there, then they'll have to go somewhere. What about if deer get stuck in that fence? What is that? That's a concern.
Mm-hmm. What
is your plan for that?
Yeah, so being that they're 6 to 8 feet tall, I think they're meant to, it's for safety reasons that the fences are of that height. It's meant to deter larger animals like a deer. Of course, deer can, if they wanted to, probably jump over that. If they were to be inside of a fenced area, we have the operations and maintenance facility that we're proposing within the city of New London that would be fully staffed by one or two employees of the company who would be able to address that challenge and, open the gate of the fence to allow that animal to get out. When we talk about the land that would be enclosed in the fence, I would picture that as multiple areas that are enclosed by multiple fences, so it's not a fully contiguous area that is enclosed by a fence. We have certain setbacks that we will not be developing on. We won't have, the fence enclosed in them. So corridors like along the public right of way or near the public road, or corridors that are along creeks that are in that area, there would be opportunities for animals to cross through those corridors to get to the other side of where the array is located. We've talked to people who are concerned about, the ability to hunt on where the land would be, the land that would be used for the project. Again, we've got about 8 different landowners that are participating in the project right now. I know that some of them allow for, nearby, if a deer is shot and goes into the cornfield, that they, allow for those nearby, those hunters to go in and capture that animal, or retrieve that animal. We would do the same if a wounded animal was to hop over a fence. We obviously would want somebody to be able to retrieve that animal. I've had multiple conversations with people who have asked the same question about hunting, to say, I've asked what can we do to continue to encourage animals to want to be in these areas? Again, I've talked about some of the native grass mixture that would be put in place underneath the panels and probably and around the fences. There would still be areas that would be cultivated for corn and soybeans. But I've asked some of the landowners who have, say, a wood plot next to the land, if they would be interested in what we can do. And I haven't had a whole lot of responses there. I've asked about putting in a food plot, or alfalfa or clover or something like that to continue to attract those species. But there isn't a lot of information to suggest that the population of, say, like white-tailed deer, which are probably the primary interest that would be impacted by the project.
You said that there's approximately 8 landowners. Now, are the landowners are they the ones that are having the solar panels put on their property? Or does this also include the landowners that the transmission line is going from?
That includes both. So there's about half of those have allowed for a solar farm to be on their property. Again, these are voluntary agreements that private landowners have entered into. We've approached them with a lease agreement. They've worked with attorneys to become comfortable with it, understanding the benefits to their families long term for having that on their properties. As you mentioned, there's also a corridor. It's not a transmission corridor. It's actually a low voltage corridor, or a medium voltage corridor rather. It's a 34.5 kilovolt corridor that would be underground. Several of the distribution lines that run along the state and county highways are of that same voltage, but ours would be underground. And those are some of the landowners that agreed to easements for those corridors. I think it's important to note the reason for having the below ground corridor of a medium voltage transmission a medium voltage collection system versus an above ground transmission line. A lot of that feedback came from the meeting that we had in 2023 that was referenced. We had originally looked at putting the substation central to the project and having an above ground larger transmission line similar to the ones that are out there near the substation that would run to the project. The feedback from the town and from the people and from several of the people in the community was that they didn't want to see more transmission lines. And again, that was why we made the decision to go underground. It is more costly, does have considerably more challenges to bury, multiple lines underground versus to have one above ground line, but that was based on feedback from the town.
I'm guessing this is your first solar project. Do you know of an estimated how many acres you are currently doing with solar? And what is the average or expected life of this project?
You're asking like across the United States, how many acres our company?
Yes.
I think it's between 5 and 10 solar projects that we have across the US that are currently in operation. We are primarily a wind company. We have 75 operating wind farms across the US. And then we have, like I said, about 5 to 10 solar plants. We have one in Texas that I visited earlier this summer is about twice as large as the one we're talking about. That one has about 1,700 to 1,800 acres that have solar panels on them. That's just outside of Waco, Texas. The project is called True North Solar. It was just completed recently. One interesting note about that project is it has about 1,700 sheep that graze it to keep that grass down. Another project that was recently finished this summer is in Ohio, and it's exactly the same size as this project. It'd be 150 megawatts. And totally enclosed within that fence is 1,000 acres. So, I talk, that's probably about the size that we would be looking at here. There are would be some different, obviously, every project is unique in its design and its layout, but that project is the exact same size. I know that we have some projects in Oregon. We have a project in Colorado, and then we have multiple projects that are hopefully going into construction over the next couple of years.
And then what is the average or expected life of this project?
Oh, yeah. So the lease agreement that we have here, I believe, allows us to have infrastructure on the property for up to 50 years. It is a long-term lease agreement. Again, these are agreements that were, reviewed and willingly came to an agreement with private landowners. The interconnection agreement that we're working towards and will be able to obtain through the utility would allow us to operate for that period of time. And then the panels themselves typically have a warranty of 20 to 25 years of life expectancy before they degrade to a certain point where maybe it makes sense to put in new panels. So I would say that the minimum that we would be looking at for a project like this would be 20 to 25 years, and then with the opportunity to extend it further.
So you have an estimated 150 megawatt, and that also determines the amount of money that you guys would get, the amount of money that we would get. But that's also an estimated amount based on ideal conditions. So that number can vary, and we are further north and less sun. I understand you guys are engineers, so you guys also can figure some of that stuff out, but I'm sure you're presenting that information, you're presenting it as the ideal scenario, making it sound like we would get the most money.
Sure.
Something else to keep in mind that
We wouldn't get any money from the megawattage. The only thing that would be you guys and Outagamie County, we had talked about that before. We get none of the solar panel money.
Right.
Anything that is for the substation and the maintenance facility only,
The value.
the value of those.
value. Okay, that was.
Yeah, no, that's the value of those, yeah, because we
Yeah.
had that question in a previous meeting. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I
just-
understand your question.
And then also talking about some of the environmental stuff. I don't know whether there's gonna be environmental problems about it or not. I'm not saying there will be. I will say asbestos was also healthy for decades before it wasn't. So just something to keep in mind there. And as far as the electrons part go, I don't think it's so much the specific that people are worried about the specific electrons going to this. I think it was more the fact of it's not going to benefit our electric bills. I think it's probably more along the point that what Adam was talking about. Is it's going to go into the grid, but it's not going to lower any of our electric bills. So I just wanted to make that point as well. So those are just the points that I want to make.
That's just the first part, at least, 150 megawatts. You're right. So that's the capacity of the project. That's the maximum capacity. And that is the number at which the calculation is based off of that would be paid to the town and to the county, regardless of whether there's a super sunny year or a year with clouds, or maybe say, the project doesn't produce as many electrons as was calculated. That's not impacted by the nameplate capacity of the project. So there's, you're bringing up a good point, though, that this is an intermittent resource. The solar produces electrons when the sun is shining, or even on cloudy days, but primarily when it needs photons from the sun to be activating the electrons to produce energy. So it is an intermittent resource versus like say a nuclear power plant that would run at 150 megawatts, continuously on a 24-hour basis, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's, similar to other sorts of generations like a natural gas plant, that turns on, like a peaker natural gas plant that turns on when it's like a day like today, when it's in the upper 80s and everybody has their air conditioner on, and people are coming home from work. That's the peak period. That's the peak load, or the peak demand for energy is during that time. So I think solar lines up nicely with that demand, because the majority of energy that demand is in summer months, and as I mentioned, in the late afternoon, early evening hours. Right now, the way that the grid would address that challenge is to fire up a natural gas peaker plant. The demand is getting higher. They need to supply the demand, and it can be very costly to fire up a natural gas peaker plant. So what this project how this project would benefit people that use energy, is that it adds more resiliency to the grid. It adds, adds a different generation source, with a lower cost with a lower cost of operation versus, a peaker plant or something similar.
What happens in the winter time with the snow?
Yeah, so the panels would be dual axis, fixed tilt, no, single axis tracker. So the panels are arranged in rows going north and south, and they track the sun throughout the day for maximum efficiency. So in the morning, they are facing east and they tilt ever so slowly, and in the evening they're facing west. So we have the ability to control the tilt of the solar arrays. So if snow were to collect, you can tilt the array so that gravity takes care of that, and the snow would fall off. Because they are sitting on, because snow would fall on the panels, which have a glass sheeting on them, it's a dark surface that absorbs the sunlight and becomes very, very, or much warmer. And that allows the snow to, kind of melt and slide off the panels too. So if there were, larger snow events that those methods weren't working, where we would tilt the panels, or just the snow would melt and fall off on its own, we would come out and probably remove the snow so that we would, be obtaining that, or be able to produce electricity during those periods.
Any other discussion questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Derek, for answering those questions, and thank you everyone for participating. I have no further questions. Anything else to add from anybody?
No, the point of this was just to have more discussion. Obviously, it's a very hot topic, and there's a lot of different viewpoints, and there's a lot of different interests and things to think about. I mean, the financial impact to both communities, the impact to the landowners around. So it's good that we're having this discussion. My recommendation for the committee at this time was we're still working with the Vanguard on a agreement. I think that for this committee, they need to see that agreement to see what it would be before you guys have enough information for the full decision. So
absolutely.
My recommendation would be is, we would continue our negotiations for an agreement. You guys look at that, see if it's something that the city is worth interested in, and go from there. But we're not ready yet to provide any type of agreement or sales agreement or anything like that yet.
And it sounds like they're a little ways away anyway with their approvals. So
I've been doing research, and Derek and I have been going back and forth just to make sure that, like he was talking about, the 6 mills for the value of the substation and And the maintenance facility, I was doing our due diligence and contacting the state and getting that information, so, that does seem like it's in line, with things. But I was just making sure that we have all that information, truthful information, like Johnny was talking about, making sure everything is correct, as we move forward in more evaluation.
I guess one thing just to think about it from your, from your perspective is if they came in and said they wanted to take the river all the way going through downtown and cover it with solar panels. Yes, just saying.
No, we understand. Yeah, we understand. Yeah. So I feel like we're not ready to, well, we obviously aren't, we don't have an agreement to even discuss as a committee. And we are definitely listening. So
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you guys for inviting us. Really appreciate it.
not a problem. Thank you for coming.
Thanks,
Okay.
Derek, for taking the time out and having the conversation.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Derek. Okay, with that, we will move on to the report on the Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation Small Business Loan Grant Program and updates to the Regional Tourism Project.
We have Jeff McCoskey here, the Executive Director from Wapaka County Economic Development Corporation. As committee remembers, we participated in a joint grant application process. We provided a matching grant of $50,000 for small business loan grant program. And Jeff is here today to talk about it, so I'll give it up to you.
Well, good evening. Yeah, the last time I was here, it was under kind of a conceptual idea. We put together the application last fall. We just finally heard about in May that they were revisiting older grant applications, and June they said we're going to move forward with our application. So we were really excited about it. Unfortunately, yesterday I got a call that said we're going to have a press conference next week, Tuesday, that I have to help schedule. So we kind of preempted that a little bit, but basically the concept is if a business either is located in an older building in downtown or purchasing a building in downtown, and they get approved for a business loan through us. A business loan, they can apply for up to $100,000 business loan. That's for their either startup improvements, expansion of a business, or even just purchasing the building that they're going in. That provides the match for up to $50,000 of the state small business development grant funds. And that money, if they're approved for less than $50,000, the grant will be up to the amount that they're approved for the loan. So if they come in, they get a $30,000 loan, we can provide them $30,000 to make improvements to their building, whether it be energy efficiency, safety, structural integrity. That's primarily the roofs, or accessibility. So the business itself does not have to put their kind of neck out on the line, getting additional funds to provide for the building improvements. The grant would take that over. This came from a number of different issues. There have been businesses looking in the downtown that felt that they couldn't maintain the buildings. A new business wanted to purchase a building. They weren't able to manage the existing building because of the issues that I talked about, whether it be energy efficiency or structural integrity. And they decided not to locate into the downtowns. And we wanted to see how we could improve getting businesses into the downtowns, fill the downtowns throughout Wapaka County. In addition, we know that the age of the buildings are continuing to get older, and there's a lot of need for those buildings. If an existing business that owns the building does not maintain their roof, we could get to a situation where the building has to be torn down because the building envelope has been broken. And over years, that creates a situation where the building may have to be eliminated. We don't want that. We want to maintain the buildings within the downtown. We already have, as we're developing this, we have a few businesses that are already looking at the possibility of utilizing this program. Nothing's to the point where we're funding it because it just came about. But we have a number of businesses that are either looking to purchase buildings in downtowns or improve the buildings that they're in the downtown. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to utilize the $250,000 that we got from the state. They provided us 18 months to be able to utilize those monies, and I think we have a good start on being able to utilize those. As Chad said, in addition, a business in downtown New London can additionally apply to the city for an additional up to $50,000 for the project. So it's a definite incentive for getting businesses to purchase or improve in the downtown area. Any questions on that?
Is that on a priority list?
I'm sorry?
How they get their loan? Is it on a priority? So you got 3, 4 in town that would want to do it?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
Say you got a couple businesses in town that apply for this. How do they when they get the loan?
So how they prioritize, it pretty much first come, first serve. As they go through the loan process with our loan committee, once they're approved, then the grant would kick in. So it would be first come, first serve.
And then, just like Jeff said, it would kind of be a piggyback thing for the city's portion of the grant, but I think we bring that back to this committee because that is city funds that you guys would bless the city's portion of that in the end. We'll work together on, making a recommendation to this committee, for those grantees, but in the end, the city's portion, you guys would be making that decision for.
Right.
Did I miss when the application process is opening?
We've completed the contracts just a week or two ago. They were telling us to hold off for a press event, and that wasn't coming through. So sending feeders out and trying to get some interest. But next week, Tuesday, we'll have a press conference, and then hopefully it'll get out into the public and even more than we have. Right now, we've been working through our board, which is representatives of all the 8 municipalities in the county. And that's kind of word by mouth right now.
Okay, thank you.
In addition to that, I thought I'd provide you a report. 2025 WCDC celebrates 30-year anniversary. So it just provides a little bit of information on how it got started. The 8 municipalities that helped support us, plus the county, and a handful of corporate donors. And our biggest program, or most efficient program, has been the loan revolving loan program. And you can see that we've provided 85 loans throughout those 30 years. loan totals $4.95 million with a total economic impact of $52 million. So we feel that the organization and the loan program has really been successful. And I've only been here for, it's coming on 4 years, so I'm kind of on the shoulders of the past boards, loan committees, and executive directors. So I get to celebrate, but I'm gonna do all the work. In addition, we've had a number of different other projects. Since the pandemic, we've really been concentrating on workforce development because that's a big issue with a lot of the bigger companies. So that's the direction that WCDC is on, establishing the Wapaka County Catch a Ride program, working with the child care development centers, child care providers, and we're approaching the development of Child Care Alliance that brings all providers together as a group, talking to each other and helping to support the county municipalities on how to improve childcare in the county. One other program that's just on the end is our veteran entrepreneur training program. So far, we've had 21 veterans go through our entrepreneurial training program, receive $5,000 to start or enhance their business. That was funded through the county and the Wapaka County Veterans Office. A lot of different opportunities that we've been able to provide to businesses. The third handout I provided is another county initiative project that we're moving forward, trying to get projects to develop. It's the Regional Tourism Grant Program. Funding was through the counties. Well, at the time when the ARPA funds came to the county, there was some funds available that we'd be able to do some regional tourism. And I broke the county into 3 sections so that we wouldn't be utilizing all the funds in one section, trying to spread the wealth out throughout the county. And this came from, at that time, the Iola Car Show identified their economic impact. And it was millions of dollars a year economic impact for the county. This is approach to try to establish not that size of project, but if we see a new or expanding event, festival, or I'll just call it an event, that we can, within the next few years, identify potentially 1,000 visitors coming into Wapaka County to be here, going to our businesses, staying overnight in our hotels, campgrounds. That's what we'd like to support. So we're looking for projects. We've been working with the county chambers to look for projects that can establish something that will that we can help initiate, that will bring those people into the county, so that we can get a few more projects that have the millions of dollars of economic impact, bringing people into the county. So far, we've supported 2 projects. Unfortunately, they're both in Iola. The Iola Car Show grounds brought in the Wisconsin Bluegrass Bash That's a event that's been going on in different parts of the state. The last time they had it, it was in Door County. They're coming into the Iola Car Show. Within the next 3 years, they're hoping that they'll be in the 1,000 participant range. It's an event that there isn't anything else like that in the area, and we're hoping that it, with our help, that it'll initiate something that'll be a long-standing event. The other one is the Iola Winter Sports Club, where they're developing over 10 miles of mountain bikes. Mountain biking is becoming one of the biggest outdoor sporting events. And with that, we're hoping that they can provide events, championship series, and bring additional people to that area outside of the winter area where they bring a lot of people in for snowshoeing and cross-country skiing. So those are two big potentials that can bring in a lot of people into the county, and we're looking for more. Broken into the 3 sections. We've got in this area, which is the southeast section, there's roughly $140,000 available for a number of projects. And this project, or this area, includes New London, Waiawega, and Fremont. Then there's the northeast section, Clintonville, Manawa, Marion. They've got about the same amount. The Wapaka, Iola, Scandinavia area, after providing those 2 projects, they're down to about $112,000. So we do have some money to look at developing or expanding an event that can really bring people in, or looking at what kind of venues we have and what kind of what do we need to create to get to that point where we're bringing in those people for events. Questions, concerns?
I didn't have any questions. Anybody else have any? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Like to move on to updates and reports, business updates. April?
April, guess what? I did get it.
Hmm?
I got it.
You got it?
Yep, your email.
Okay, good.
We're good.
All right. So are you gonna advance for me or?
Yep.
Okay, you're driving. All right.
good.
I'm gonna go to the first slide. All right, so I have a new business to share with you. The Riverfront Spa opened this month. It is at 504 West North Water Street, which is was formerly QPS before they closed that location, and now they are only in Appleton. So this is a new family that just moved to town from Chicago. They are looking, I'm trying to help them find a home or a place to live, but their spa massage parlor is open 7 days a week, 8 to 9 p.m. So check them out. I touched on this business renovation back in January. Taco Bell, you can see there's some promotion going over there. They have a $700,000 renovation happening right now. They are currently closed with the drive up open, and they're hoping to finish that renovation up by the end of this week. So we have a brand new Taco Bell. The renderings that I have in front of you is a business renovation, which is the former Buyer's Guide building. I have some family that own that building. They have multiple businesses under that roof. They do books for Right Spec and G-Force Trailers, located at 416 West North Water Street. And the renderings in front of you will be the exterior updates that they plan to do. Top photo is the north side facing North Water Street. Next. I want to point out that we have some new services in town. Polished Nail Nook is a nail salon over by Coldwell Banker on Shawano Street. I know there's other waxing services in town, but she also offers fine line tattoos, and we haven't had that in the area, so I want to mention that. Just a few updates on here. I'm not sure if the price went down or if I had the price listed incorrectly for the theater, but we have the theaters is split into two parcels. One parcel being 225,000 and the other being 110. I had that listed at 325 and 100,000. So I had that corrected by the realtor this morning. We had a price reduced on Marley's, went down to 650. And then I'm happy to report we have an accepted offer at 1817 North Shawano Street, which used to be the former Touch and Tan. So that's the entire building by the former Piggly Wiggly, the Touch and Tan and Macaport. That entire building is under contract right now. Then I have a summer kickoff report for you. So if you want to click on, so this picture right here is some drone footage done by Bruce. So this was the night of the market. You can see the balloon over by Amazing Low Prices. And then the entire North Water Street is lit up with, we created structures. My husband actually built structures that we put downtown all along North Water Street from Shawano to Pearl Street and hung lights with the help of New London Utilities. So you want to click on there.
So I will point out before you jump into this, that this is a benefit of us being a member of the Waupaca County Economic Development Corporation and being able to partner with them and get some of these place area AI ports. So I just want to point out that this is one of our benefits of being part of that group.
Did you click on the top? Did you click on go back to the
This one?
PowerPoint? Yep, click on the summer kickoff right there.
Does it come up differently?
Yep, okay.
Oh,
So we partner with Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation because we are a Connect community and we have rockstar participation. We are considered a gold tier member. And part of it, with that being a gold tier member, we were given a bunch of different incentives that we could take advantage of. And one of them was creating an impact study for an event. So we chose the summer kickoff to do an impact study. So what Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation did is they took that Placer AI information and they created an impact report. So I will give you a review of the report. So summer kickoff was June 6th from 6 to 10 on North Water Street. We had 50 local vendors, live music, food trucks, beer garden, kids zone, live art, a hot air balloon, and lots of fun things to do for the entire family. The event was a true community effort with the city, chamber, school district, park and rec, fire department, Wolf River Art League. In addition, numerous private businesses contributing to in-kind support. So on the right there, it'll show where our, not only attendees, but our vendors were drawn from. An estimated 3,800 people were downtown, and that came from our Placer AI geofencing. Approximately 70% of the event attendees were from New London or surrounding area. And about 5% of those attendees traveled 50 miles or further to attend the event. The demographic data suggests that event attendees are fairly representative of our own community with a median household income of $70,000, which is slightly higher than the community median of $62,000. And then the average visitor stayed at the event for nearly 2 hours. Visitors came to the event from a mix of leisure activities. So that would include movies, parks, restaurants, and bars, and errands. And then post-event, roughly a quarter of the attendees visited our local bars and restaurants. You want to go down to the next page. More than 50 local businesses, artisans, and food trucks participated in the event. Our vendors paid between $50 and $155 for booth spaces, depending on the size that they needed, if they needed power or marketing add-ons, or depending on when they actually signed up for the event, if they hit that early bird rate. We did not collect vendor data or business sales, but we know we sold 5,682 beer tickets. 13 of our businesses downtown were open, so that was 7% of our businesses. I had many conversations with businesses during and after the event. Those conversations indicated that our restaurants did really well with steady traffic all night. Our bars were busy during and especially after the event. Our retail stores reported that they had increased foot traffic, but a small increase in sales. But most of those businesses were also set up with booth sales, so they had sales during the event inside and as a vendor. Our visitors reported a positive experience at the event with numerous positive reviews and thank you messages for the chamber shared on social media. Several of those responses specifically indicated that the event is continued for future years. We did not do any surveys. We're going to definitely do them next year for our attendees and vendors. But what Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation did is they looked at similar night markets, and they estimated that the overall 2025 summer kickoff bash and night market generated an estimated $118,335 in local economic activity. So if you want to scroll down, I have some pictures that I want to share with you. So we had a really cool fire breather entertainment. We partnered with the school district of New London and brought not only the show choir, but the Vision Show Choir, but also their rock band. And it was really special for those parents that got to see their graduating seniors perform one more time in their community. It brought out a lot of people. And I keep going down. We had a really cool kid zone, a foam party that not only kids, but parents were also enjoying. I'm gonna go down. We had a large, we had 2 semi trucks that we put together on North Water Street so that we could have some live music on one end of the street. I walked up and down the festival numerous times, and we had lines at all the food trucks. And at the end of the night, the majority of the food trucks were sold out, which was really great to see. And I had a majority of those food trucks are already signed up for 2026, and I don't even have my applications ready yet. So that was great to see. I'm trying to keep going down. We had a live chainsaw artist, and then the balloon from Fox Communities Credit Union. So overall, I think for the first event, it was very successful. Any questions?
I had nothing but positive comments. It was a great event to be at.
Yeah. I heard the same thing about it. People they want to know why we can't do more concerts on.
Lots more staff.
Yes. Yeah. I did tell them we got the concert in the park.
Yeah, I just, something of that size, just the amount of planning, sponsorships, setup and tear down is just, it's a lot of work. A lot of work. I would love to.
Very
monthly,
appreciated.
and I think they could do it in Appleton because they have 75,000 people and probably 35 employees that can work on it, but 3 employees can't pull that off monthly.
Big thank you to you and all your staff.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you for that. Any questions or comments left for April? Okay, city administrators report.
I'm gonna skip the first one and bring that back next month. I got some good pictures of the City Hall. We've been here for a full meeting already, so I don't wanna fly over that. So I want to kind of go. So I'll wait for that for the next month. Just want to point out that our city slogan voting goes to August 19th. You can go to these major city buildings here, like the municipal building, the library, aquatic fitness center, and the chamber. And just remember to vote. If anybody hasn't voted, you can do that as you walk out in the lobby after this meeting. But our top 3 choices are Small Town Big Welcome, Where the River Leads Home, and Where the Wolf Flows Community Grows. Again, this is our voting for our next city slogan that we're going to use for marketing and getting the word out about New London. 2 quick things I didn't have on my agenda. Number 1, I have gotten continued facade improvement grant applications. I am down to $1,200 left out of all the money that we went through, and you can see the impact of the downtown. If you went back past Familiar Grounds, they just did their painting. There's plenty of other things going on in downtown, so definitely something that's shown some impact. And then, as you guys might recall, we did apply for that East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission Strategic Planning and Revitalization for Communities program. We were just announced that we are one of the candidates for that program. If you remember, we did that a couple of years ago at Familiar Grounds. This year's program, we focused on proposing doing some targeting, facilitating and engineering conceptual design work next to the Berninger River Walk, in between the Berninger River Walk and the city property, next to where the future beer garden is. So looks like they are targeting that first week of September. Don't have a lot of information yet, how timing and everything. I will get that out once I have that, but I just wanted to give everybody a heads up that we did get that, if they call it a grant today, we got that grant process, and we will be going through that free facilitation process and just getting information and ideas for that area. Any questions?
Yay. That's exciting. Any other questions for Chad? Okay, reviewing potential agenda items for future meetings would be the report.
I must have forgot to take that off, so we did that.
Yeah, we just did that. The hotel feasibility study, transportation updates, childcare updates, housing updates. Review for the next meeting date. Our next meeting date would fall on Tuesday, August 26th at 5:15, if that's not a problem for anybody. Okay. Hearing no problems, we will go with that. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, motion by Dave, second by John. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed?